Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that, well, it might seem a bit specific at first interview questions for assistant football coaches.
Right. Sounds niche.
Exactly. But stick with us because it's actually packed with insights into how successful teams, really any successful team, operates.
Hmm.
We've got this set of questions, and what's fascinating is how they cut right to the chase on things like leadership,
Uh-huh.
motivation, team building. It's a surprisingly quick way to grasp what makes groups click.
It really is. Don't get hung up on the football part. Think of it more like we're exploring the blueprint for guiding a group towards a common goal.
Yeah.
The source material lays out these typical questions, and like you said, the underlying ideas about leading people, they apply pretty much everywhere.
So our mission today is simple. Dig into these questions, look at the kind of thinking behind potential answers, and pull out those core principles.
The actionable stuff.
Exactly. Stuff about leadership, managing teams, even just personal development that you can actually use, whether you're in charge of a department, a project, or, just chasing your own goals.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's kick things off with something fundamental. Motivation. A really common first question is, what led you to pursue a career in coaching?
Right. And this one's interesting because it's not just asking, do you like football?
No.
It's digging deeper, trying to figure out the why. The example answers usually mention passion for the game, sure, but also that desire to teach, to develop younger people.
Huh.
If you zoom out from that, it speaks volumes about purpose-driven leadership, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why take on this, frankly, demanding role? What values are driving you?
It really gets to the core values, yeah. It sort of makes you think about your own motivations, too. What's really pushing you forward in whatever you do.
Exactly.
And that flows pretty naturally into the next bit. What qualities do you actually need? So the question is, what do you think are the key attributes of a successful coach?
Okay, so now we're defining what good leadership looks like in this context. And the common answers, things like great communication,
Mm-hmm.
connecting with players,
Right.
strong knowledge, obviously, strategic thinking, being able to motivate, manage emotions, yours and theirs, and being resilient when things get tough.
That list, it strikes me as really holistic. It's not just the X's and O's, is it?
Not at all.
It's about being a leader who can connect, make smart calls under pressure, stay steady. You could swap football coach for team lead in an office, and most of it still fits perfectly.
Absolutely. The context changes, but the human dynamics, the need for strategy, communication, resilience, that's constant.
Yeah. It makes you think which of those traits are most critical in your world.
A good exercise. And building on that effectiveness idea, the next question is often something like, what do you think is the most important thing a coach can do to help their team win?
Okay, the bottom line question.
Kind of, yeah. And a solid answer usually talks about creating a game plan, one that plays to your team's strengths, maybe exploits opponent weaknesses, but crucially, one that's adaptable.
Adaptable, that feels key. It's not just having a plan, but having one that can change on the fly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because things rarely go exactly as planned.
It's like asking, what's your actual strategy for success? How well do you know the landscape, your own resources, and can you pivot when needed?
Precisely. And related to that is the next question. What do you think is the biggest challenge a coach faces? This adds another layer.
Okay, what comes up there?
Often it comes back to that complexity of crafting the right game plan, really understanding your team and your opponent deeply. It makes you think, well, what are the inherent hurdles in any leadership role? Just recognizing them is step one.
It's about acknowledging the difficulty, isn't it? Being realistic. Okay, so we've covered challenges, but what about the flip side? They also ask, what do you think are the biggest benefits of coaching?
Yeah, the rewards. And the answers here usually highlight seeing players improve skills, understanding even personal growth off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the personal satisfaction the coach gets from facilitating that. It reminds you, leadership isn't just about hitting targets.
It's about impact.
It's about the people, the growth,
Mm-hmm.
that sense of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
It prompts the question, what rewards are you looking for beyond just, say, finishing the project?
That's a great point. Adds that crucial human element. Okay, let's shift gears slightly to the practical side, getting the best out of people. What do you think is the best way to motivate players?
Motivation. And the smart answer here is usually that there's no single silver bullet.
Right, because people are different.
Exactly. So you might hear about setting individual goals,
Mm.
using positive reinforcement, making sure players see the link between their effort and the results,
Okay.
and also fostering a sense of belonging, making everyone feel included. It taps into basic psychology, Different things drive different people. Recognition for some, teamwork for others.
It makes you think, how am I motivated? And how do I adjust when trying to motivate someone else?
That's the key. Understanding and adapting. Which connects nicely to the next one. What do you think is the most important thing that a coach can teach their players?
Beyond the specific skills, you mean?
Yeah, beyond the plays. And often, the answer is something like teaching them how to be a good teammate.
Yeah. Okay, like being supportive, respectful.
Supportive, respectful, hardworking, reliable, those foundational values.
Mm.
Because a team with amazing talent but poor teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
it often falls short.
True. That internal cohesion is huge. What core values do you prioritize when you're working in a group?
It's those intangibles that really bind people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get a bit more tactical. What do you think is the best way to prepare for a game?
Preparation. Okay.
And the examples usually involve studying film, understanding the opponent,
Uh-huh.
practicing specific scenarios, making sure players are sharp mentally and physically. It just highlights how crucial thorough prep is, really in anything important.
Yeah, whether it's a game, a presentation, a negotiation.
Right. Good preparation stacks the odds in your favor. How do you prep for big moments?
It's that mix, isn't it? Analysis, practice, getting your head right. Okay, thinking longer term now. What do you think is the most important thing a coach can do to get their team ready for the season?
So this is about the foundational work for sustained success, not just one game.
Right. The marathon, not the sprint.
Exactly. So answers often mention physical conditioning, obviously, but also instilling discipline, commitment, developing that season-long game plan or philosophy, and building belief, motivation again. It's about building the capacity to compete week after week. What foundations are crucial for your long-term goals?
It's the difference between a flash in the pan and building something sustainable. Okay, how about managing people within the team? What do you think is the best way to manage player expectations?
Expectations.
Uh,
Always tricky. The sample answers generally talk about setting clear, achievable goals both for individuals and the team.
Achievable being the key word there.
Absolutely. Realistic. But also being flexible enough to adjust those goals if things change. Poorly managed expectations are a recipe for frustration.
Definitely. It's about clear communication and that realism. Again, how do you handle that balance yourself, managing your own expectations and those of people around you?
It's a constant effort. And related to that is dealing with things not going to plan, like injuries. What do you think is the best way to deal with player injuries?
Yeah, that's inevitable in sports, but setbacks happen everywhere.
They do. And the examples emphasize quick medical care, solid rehab plans, but also, crucially, emotional support.
Right. Supporting the person, not just the player.
Exactly. And keeping communication open. It shows real leadership empathy, supporting people through tough times. How does your team handle setbacks? How do you support people?
It really shows you value the individuals.
Okay.
Building on that positive environment, what do you think is the best way to develop team unity?
Team cohesion,
Yeah.
super important. Answers often mention creating a positive, supportive atmosphere. Maybe team building stuff. Having clear shared goals everyone buys into, and giving regular constructive feedback. Unity isn't just nice to have, it drives performance.
Yeah, when people feel connected and pulling in the same direction.
That's when you get peak performance. How do the groups you're in build that unity?
It's about fostering that shared purpose, isn't it? But of course, things aren't always smooth. What about discipline? What do you think is the best way to deal with player discipline issues?
Right, handling problems. The usual advice is have clear rules and expectations up front.
Okay, clarity first.
Then apply consequences consistently. Fairness matters. But also try to understand why the issue happened. What's the root cause?
So not just punishing, but understanding.
Yeah, and ideally working together on a solution. Good discipline is about learning and prevention, not just penalties. How are rules handled where you are?
It's about consistency and getting to the root of it. Another tricky people dynamic. What do you think is the best way to manage player egos?
Yes, the ego question. Always relevant when you have talented individuals.
Yeah.
The common strategies. Focus on team goals over individual stats. Help everyone understand their specific role and value.
Make everyone feel important.
Kind of, yeah. Foster that positive environment. And, importantly, lead by example. It's that constant balancing act. Harnessing individual drive for the collective good.
How do you see that balance playing out in your experience, getting individual contributions to serve the group goal?
It's a core leadership challenge.
Okay.
One last area, external factors. What do you think is the best way to deal with media pressure?
Right, the spotlight. Not just for sports,
Yeah,
obviously.
definitely not. The advice, stay calm, be prepared for questions, be professional, and build resilience. Don't let the outside noise derail you.
It's about composure under scrutiny, isn't it?
Huh?
How do you handle those external pressures yourself?
Staying focused on what you can control is key. So, look, as we wrap up this deep dive into these coaching questions,
Yeah,
some big themes really stand out, don't they?
absolutely. I mean, clear communication comes up again and again.
Constantly. And
Oh,
strategic planning, thinking ahead.
yep. Effective motivation, finding what works, creating that positive, supportive environment,
Mhm.
and just being ready to handle challenges, all kinds of challenges.
And it's just so vital to remember, even though we use football examples today, these principles.
Mm,
They're universal.
totally transferable.
Leading a business team, a volunteer group, just managing your own life goals, understanding these dynamics helps everywhere.
It really does. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Which of these coaching ideas could you maybe apply, like right now in your own situation?
Yeah.
Think about those perhaps less obvious parts of leadership that go beyond just the technical skills. What really makes someone an impactful leader in any field? It's definitely more than just knowing the playbook, isn't it?